Good morning, everyone. How are you? Good morning. Thank you for being here this morning. My name is Lorna Reyes. I am with Westcore Land Title Insurance Company. You probably never heard of us. I like to say we're a secret agent company. If you hear of us, it's usually an issue. Hopefully there's not. We work with companies such as Title Partners. They're one of our customers. And the goal is that we all kind of help each other out. We're here to help you guys be more successful. In return, hopefully, you guys are working with companies like ours, like Title Partners, are here to help you guys. And it's just, kind of we'll help each other out kind of thing. Our job is easy. We help you guys close your deals. We handle the title search part of your transaction. So whenever you guys have a contract, they send us the search requests, and we provide the title insurance. So I don't want to bore you with what we do, but so you guys can get an idea of what I do. I started my real estate career in 2008 when the market crashed. I was the happiest realtor because I had no idea what was going on. I love that I still get to hang out with other realtors because I think it's a beautiful career, and I'm so glad that you guys made the time to be here today. This class today is for CE credits. It's 2 hours. You will be getting 10 minutes within the middle of the class so that you kind of can stretch out and get something to drink. But we'll just continue the class so you guys can do your 2 hours and I can send you on your way. This is a very important topic. It's affecting a lot of people in our community. I'm so glad that you guys took the time to be here because this impacts not just you guys, impacts your brokers, it impacts the title companies and the lenders. And I think if we're all educated on this, we can all help the consumers and ourselves because they are targeting real estate professionals for not having information about this or doing things to prevent an issue from happening, okay? So feel free to ask questions. This class is for you. Hopefully you guys can take something and use it with your everyday career. So today we're going to talk about wire fraud, what it is, how it's affecting you guys. We're going to talk about email being compromised. Usually that's how these incidents begin, through email. And most of the time, the highest percentage comes from realtors being compromised. We're going to talk about phishing, what it is, how to avoid it, how to see the signs, how to protect yourself, and obviously protect your customers because sometimes we have some information that's a little delicate and we don't want to put it out there. I'm going to explain to you how you guys may be targeted by this. Why are they looking for you or title companies? What if it happens to you? We're going to talk about what the steps are that you need to take to make sure that you report it and that you let other people know that this happened so that they can do what they need to do to protect themselves. And protecting your customers, how you guys can do that, and educating them as well. So we'll go over those things, and like I said, just ask as many questions as you want. The class is for you. Okay, so the U.S. Director of National Intelligence has ranked cyber fraud as worse than terrorist attack. That's how bad it is. Remember 9/11, everything was like terrorists, be careful, luggages, you can't leave luggages. Well, now cyber fraud is more serious than that. The cases are much higher than that. And that's the top priority right now for the FBI. So that's what's been happening. When I started my career doing this job, I would go to a title company, and if I heard of a cyber crime incident like once a month, too many. Just once a month. I would hear it every now and then, and I walk around and tell people, hey, be careful, be cautious, they're out there trying to get money from your account. But we didn't hear it as much. Those numbers have gone up substantially now. So remember back in the days, we used to have at closing, we used to ask for a cashier's check or money order. Most title companies would accept that. Well, just like any criminal, their job is to figure out, okay, how do I beat that? How do I get into that money? And now we started to do, obviously, wire transfers, right? You can't do a closing now with a check because even the checks in the banks have been compromised. So they figured out, okay, how do we get wires? How do we get into that? How do we get that money to us? And that's where we're at now. So because this was such a humongous issue, the FBI went ahead and created their own Men in Black department, which is the IC3. And their job is to work and identify cases like this: cyber fraud, cybersecurity, wire fraud, emails compromise, or even when they hacked into like the systems. There was like a couple companies that their systems were compromised that they kind of hold it hostage. So that's what this department does. And in case you guys didn't know, your local FBI office, where this department is, there's the office in Broward County, right off Pines Boulevard and 75, where the big shopping center area is with restaurants. That's what the FBI building is. It doesn't even look like an FBI building. There's no doors, it's all glass, a security men in black thing. But that's where it is. A lot of people don't know, and it's good for you guys to know, again, if something ever happens. So let's look at some numbers. 6.9 billion victims losses in 2021. These numbers continue to go up. So even though you're going to see this, I promise you, if I were to look right now, that's 2021. I haven't been able to go through the 2022. Those numbers continue to go up every day. 2,300 plus average company complaints received by IC3. They record all this information. They get all the statistics and all the information for everything that's happening now. 552,000 over that average complaints received per year. And like I mentioned to you, when I started this job, we barely heard about an incident. And now it's almost like every second that they're getting stuff. And over 6.5 million people complaints reported since they started recording this information from this department. So let's look at some numbers and see what does that mean. 6.9 billion is the equivalent of over 17,250 houses stolen. 17,000 homes. Think about that. The average house costs $400,000. So when you ask yourself, well, why are they targeting us? That's a lot of money. Think about the real estate transactions that you're doing, those wire transfers from the lenders to title company, money from the title company to the lender, money from the buyers or the sellers if they need to put something in, all that stuff, that's easy money. I mean, it's no brainer. So 37 seconds. In 2021, a cybercrime was reported once every 37 seconds. Think about that. And then there was a 34 increase in phishing attacks from 2020 to 2021. And those numbers continue to go up. And I'm sure you guys get those phishing emails all the time. Before we used to get those emails about the prints, I need a help, can you forward me some money? I'm gonna double that money and give it back to you. I promise you, no prince is gonna email you asking for that. So it's kind of the same thing. They figured out that didn't work, let me do something different. So let's look at some numbers. Top 5 crime type comparison. So the blue is the year 2007. So phishing, vishing, smishing, and farming. All those are the numbers for 2017, 18, 19, 20, and 21. And as you can see, the green, the farming, that's 2021, how much it's gone up. The numbers have continued to go up, and mainly phishing, vishing, and all that. That's how most of the cyber crimes and attacks happen. It start with phishing. They start by identifying a person and then sending out messages to see that person will bite. And then they can get in and access to your systems or your information. It's less than non-payment, non-delivery, personal data breach, identity theft, extortion. So that's the #1 way that they're gonna get to you, by phishing or figuring out, okay, how do we get access to this person? So social engineering attacks are the biggest collective security risk for real estate companies. So that's where they either do wire fraud or they intercept wire transactions. CEO fraud, they pretend to be the owner of the company or something. I even saw recently a title company, somebody changed the member's name in their company, and they were getting cars and cell phones and all kinds of stuff by adding their name to that title company. How do they do that? I don't know. And we noticed that, and we called them, and do you have a new partner in your company? And she had no idea. And then she's like, no wonder, I've been getting all these credit cards, and I've been getting like bills for all these cell phones. So whoever did it started to get stuff under the corporation name, and she had no idea. So CEO fraud, phishing, emails or calls. A hacker may pose as trusted but unknown person, like a vendor or new employee, to get access to company credentials. And they're very good. They can text, they can email, they call. We just had a case too where somebody called and verified wire instructions, which the title company never called back and verified that was the right company. They just received the call, assumed it was them, and they sent money. That's how easy it happens. #2, business emails compromised. Scammers who successfully hack into a corporate email will imitate the owner's identity in order to defraud the company and its employees, customers, or partners, which is what I mentioned. That's what they do. And part of phishing is that they identify, okay, who are the parties in the transaction, or who are the people that I need to kind of go after. And I'll go into more of a detail with that in a minute. Ransomware is what I mentioned about they get into a company's system, For example, a hospital, that was I think the biggest case that I saw. There was a hospital where they just took over the whole system, and the customers, like the patient's information, their medications, all their stuff, and the hospital couldn't do anything or treat the patients because they couldn't get into their system. So they held their system ransomware. That's why we have that, to protect from that also. And in most cases, they'll ask, well, you need to pay me a ransom. It has to be in Bitcoin, or it has to be whatever, and you have so many days or whatever many hours to get it, or we'll destroy all your information. So the companies usually have to pay out so that they can get that information, especially in the case of a hospital. They're treating people. They have to get in the system so they can identify, the illnesses and administer medication and do what they need to do to help people. So in that case, I believe they did pay the ransom. For some companies, if you have a backup, you can just use your backup and restore everything, but not everybody takes that time or really pays attention that their backup is sufficient to be able to take care of it themselves. I know someone locally that happened to, but she was able to back up everything and she didn't have to pay them anything, and they just immediately they got out of her computer and they got out when they realized she didn't need to do it. So they know, they pay attention, they're there. The cloud, as transactions and internal data moves to the cloud, the rate of data breaches also increased, primarily due to misconfigurations or lack of cyber due diligence in newly leveraged third-party vendors. So you guys have to be very careful. One of the big things too about realtors, you guys still use Yahoo emails or Gmail emails, and those are big no-nos. Those are very easy to hack. Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail, Google, all those, like, you should have your own network, or like GoDaddy, or you can use your broker. I'm sure your broker has one, which is more secure. But usually those, I recommend that if you are using those, to use the two-factor authentication. Yes, you should put as many security features to prevent anybody from coming in and using it. But usually that's the biggest complaint, that realtors don't really have that security on, and anybody can hack into it. I mean, that's your job, to figure things out. So email accounts compromised, like I mentioned. This is the #1 way that they're going to get access to information, by email, okay? And how do they identify you? You guys are realtors, right? You're on Realtor.com, Zillow, right? If you have a listing, I already know you have some money coming. Your seller's got some money coming, right? So how do I identify a realtor? He's got a listing. What's your name?
JJ.
JJ has a listing, and I just saw it on Realtor.com. Okay, well, let me see. Let me go into JJ's Gmail account and see if I can get access to his information. Wow, look, he works with title partners. The seller is so-and-so, because he's getting emails of everything, correct? He email pretty much has all the information. So in 2021, 19,954 business emails were compromised, BECs. Email accounts compromised, EAC complaints with adjusted losses of more than 1.8 billion. And again, this is how it all starts. It's usually by an email. It's a sophisticated scam. Like I mentioned, I don't know how they get access to it, but that's their job. I know I saw a documentary a couple years ago on Netflix. There's like a convention in Vegas where all these like techie people get together, and they kind of show how they can access your phone. They can get into your phone through Bluetooth, like all the ways that they can access information. It's super scary. So email to them is probably like no big deal. I even saw this lady pull somebody's information from their phone and called T-Mobile to get a second card for another cell phone to mirror his cell phone. And she was able to call T-Mobile, and they sent it to her. No issue. So this is, again, the main way that they're going to get their information, through the email. And they usually, the reward is pretty big, because if they succeed, they're going to get a lot of money.
Yeah, one of the things I recommend for that is not leaving your email open overnight. Or if you guys go and walk over to do something, like you have to go to a grocery store, you have to run an errand, you have to show a property, that you don't leave your email. If you leave it open, they're going to go into it and they're going to hack into it. These guys are experts, as Lauren's saying, okay? So do not leave your email. A lot of people leave their emails open. So what are you leaving? You're leaving a window, an open door for people to come in, and that's how they're getting your information. That's how they're finding out what title company you're using. That's how they find out everything. So what do? They duplicate. Very similar. But if you look at the phone number, it is totally different to the title agency's phone number. okay? The email is also different. And that's something as realtors, as professionals that we are, we must recognize as part of our job. That is our job, is to protect our clients' interests, right? Their money, correct? So that's what we must do. And how do we recognize it? Very simple things. It could be, again, from your cell phone. It could be, again, from multiple areas. Cell phones have emails. Same scenario. Close it out. Just close it out. Do like this. Close it out, okay? And especially your emails. That's where they're getting them from. These guys are really good. They're getting them right from your email. So now they're duplicating whatever title agency is, and it becomes a major, major problem for us afterwards. First of all, you're not going to close. Second of all, you're going to have a very unhappy buyer and a very unhappy listing agent and a very unhappy a seller as well too, okay? Have you seen, I've heard it before, I mean years ago when this really started, some years ago, the banks were starting to honor, those banks were honoring, this wire fraud. Have you heard of the banks not honoring them?
What do you mean honoring?
Honoring them. So if a wire fraud was sent out from a bank, just use any bank, and let's say it's $360,000, and it really wasn't caused by their client or our client or their, what would you call someone that has their account there, account holder.
Right.
Okay. Banks, after they do the investigative work, the FBI gets involved, as you mentioned. They would give the $360,000 back.
If they can get the money back.
Okay. What's happening now is with the banks is that the banks are saying, did the realtor do their due diligence?
That's what we're doing in the class. Yes, I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that.
Yeah, no, we're actually jumping into it and snapping around with it. But
there's some FDIC?
No, he's talking about whether they're going to, just like if you report that somebody stole your identity, they stole your credit card. Usually you call them, say, that wasn't me, I was in New York. So they do fund you that money back. For this transaction, not just because it's Federal Reserve, they can identify that it was somebody, maybe in the gas station, that took your credit card number, right? With these circumstances, they don't do that. They're gonna do investigation, determine who was the breach, and yes, he's going forward on my presentation, but yes, if they identify that it was the realtor and the broker are on the hook for that money.
Even if they are FDIC protected? They're not FDIC protected?
I don't know if that plays a part in this, again, because if they identify that the realtor, the broker, the title company did not do what they needed to do to protect the money, then they're at fault. Why am I going to give you money if you didn't do what you were supposed to do to protect the consumer's funds? And that's what we're doing this class, because they're coming after realtors too. Yeah. Realtors have to pay from that. So I don't know about you guys, I'm sure you don't want to work and lose your commission or more money. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how it impacts and what you can do to prevent those things, or from you being looked at like, oh, it was you didn't have the security or you didn't have this, okay? So FinCEN has done several advisories and they continue to inform the public, and those numbers still are going a lot higher. And that's why I said, I'm so glad that you guys are here, and please, please, please talk to your customers as well. Explain to them, because sometimes customers get a little bit upset. Why do I have to call the title company to verify? Why do I have to go in and give them wiring instructions? Because we're trying to avoid them from losing their money. And I'm sure if you explain that to them up front, it'll make it a lot easier. It won't be an inconvenience. I'm protecting you. I want your money to be safe. Do not accept any calls or emails from anybody. You either talk to me, Corellis, or somebody at the title company that you know already, and you call the number that I've provided. Do not call anything different. So let's continue on that. What makes real estate transactions so appealing? So they're incredibly lucrative, like we said. I mean, there's a lot of money in this. Average transaction amount across the U.S. is $400,000. That's average. I think here it's a little bit more. I think we're at $450,000, $475,000. Transactions involve multiple parties, many of whom have never met and all communicate electronically. And as you continue your real estate career, 50% of the population are millennials. They don't want to talk to you. Everything is electronic. So think about that. Everything's going to communication, whether it's text message, which is not acceptable per the contract for court. So it has to be email documentation, a fax documentation, or obviously you guys communicating them because you guys have that relationship. All of the information to start a fraud is easy to find online. I mentioned to you, if JJ has a listing, I already know he has a listing. I know the property address. I can find the owner. right? See how easy? So now I'm gonna hack at his email account. All the information I need is in his email account. I know everyone that's in the party. So 91% of cybercrime start with phishing. So they can get credit card information, bank information, all kinds of information because it's through the email. And I don't know if you guys have seen on Netflix, this will scare the bejesus out of you too. There's a guy, the most hated man in the internet or something like that. I don't know if you've seen it. Well, it was this guy who hired somebody that he knew to hack into people's emails, which is illegal. And they will find pictures of, let's say a girl sent a picture to her boyfriend via email, a little provocative little female picture. Well, he was posting those on a Facebook account and naming these girls all kind of horrific things. And just, they will put their profiles, like this is her on Facebook, you can find her, like really inappropriate stuff. And he did that for a long time. And people, like he damaged a lot of people's reputations because he made it seem like they were intentionally sending these naked pictures or these inappropriate pictures and putting their profiles on there also so people can reach out to them. So he went to jail, obviously, and the other guy, but that's just an example of how serious these people are and the things that they go and do. In that case, it was just to publicly humiliate people. In this case, they're taking money from people. So Homeland Security says the most devastating attack by the most sophisticated attackers almost always begins with a simple act of spear phishing. So it's not the kind of phishing that you do outside, okay? This is different phishing. This is the attempt to acquire information such as usernames, passwords, account information, money. They masquerade, then tell you this is so-and-so. Like in the case with title companies, they'll tell you this is title partners and we're here to just verify the information. And they tell you everything that you think is correct. And they email the information or text the information. I've seen where they text now too. The hackers go into the email accounts and wait for closing dates to make their move because they know they have to wait. They don't start doing right away. And there's always like a rush. I always tell people, we have to handle claims sometimes and we have to investigate. And every time we have a situation, people always say, something kind of fell off, but I didn't pay attention. And that's a problem. If you see something or you feel a little uncomfortable about something, do a little more digging, because usually that means something's up. And they tend to be very aggressive. We have to close, you have to send the money right now. Right now you have to send the money. And that's when the incidents usually happen. Spoofing also looks like the email in your transaction, and I'm gonna talk a little bit more detail and explain a little bit what that means. So, why should a real estate agent care about this? Like I told you guys, this is affecting you guys big time, because now it's become, okay, who else can we get for this? And in reality, title companies have their systems, their secure systems to protect customers' information. They have to send like secured emails with encrypted passwords so that people can access information, because they have to protect customers' information. And what I've seen too is you guys, because you guys are the ones that really deal with the customer, right? And the customers trust you. And most of the time, and I did this in the past before when I did real estate, I would provide the wiring instructions. That's another way that you're on the hook now, if you're giving out wiring instructions, because now you made yourself responsible for that information. Yes, because what happens is when they intercept the emails, they will send out an email looking like you with their wiring information. So if you're doing that right now, I suggest you stop and you let the title company handle those things and let them verify. Your job, like I mentioned before, is to inform your customers. You're gonna get a call from title partners or you're gonna get an email. You need to call them before you wire any money and make sure that the paperwork that you have is the same information that they sent you, okay? And usually they have their steps and things that they do to prevent, from them sending money to the wrong place. But if they don't call, and they don't call the information you provided, because remember, they're gonna get a fake email or text. They have to call the information, make sure they're calling the right company and the right contact. I would always recommend, if you have somebody that's working on your file, you know who that person is, make sure you contact Corelli, Anna, whoever, to verify that that's, the right information. So, like we mentioned, borrows info funds are directly diverted to fraudulent account, typically through the use of fake email with fake wiring instructions. The goal is to have funds transfer into accounts other than where they're supposed to go. And usually what happens, why sometimes they can't retrieve that money, as soon as they hit that bank account, that money gets separated into multiple amounts, into different accounts all over the world. So it's hard to pull back that money. It goes to other countries where we don't have authority in those countries, so we can't really force anybody to give it back. What I've seen a lot more now is they usually have one account. And when they try to do these transactions, the banks have gotten smarter. When they see a new account and then they start seeing big deposits, like wires coming in, $300,000, $500,000, the banks are not putting those accounts on hold because they're figuring out, okay, this is not normal. You just open this account and you have these humongous things. So that's something we have seen because, again, this is like everyone has to like do their part in this. And so the banks are trying to do their best as well. But it's kind of hard because, well, we don't know if it's a legit business or this is fraud, okay? So the scenario plays out like this. Hackers act as a person well known to the victim. So they're going to pretend they're you, the title company, or the lender. They send the real estate agent a phishing email to break into the agent's account. Like I said, you are the first target that they see. The emails ask them to click on a link that tells them to do phishing site where hackers will collect their passwords. You guys ever get those emails like your password needs to be changed, click here, and then that's usually somebody else, it's not really your bank. I always recommend people go to the app of your bank or contact your bank. Do not click on any email if they tell you that your account's been hacked. Email or phone, because again, they're gonna text you too with this information. My husband, it happened to him because, no, doesn't listen. Immediately, the hackers have access to the agent's email and search for pending files. And like I say, they sit there. And they sit there for a while. Because the contract takes time. You have to do your inspections and do appraisal. And they just sit there waiting for things to happen. Then they send an email to the buyer acting as the agent or title company or lawyer and asking for wire transfer. Instead of asking for the wire transfer directly, they may trick the buyer into going to a phishing site and entering their personal account information. Then the hackers get away with the buyer's money. Very easy. And they're doing it every day. And it happens. And what happens is, what I mentioned, like you guys are at the forefront, you guys talk to your buyers, they have no idea about this. They might hear it, but they don't really understand what it is. And that's why I mentioned it's so important that you guys tell them, listen, I need you to protect yourself. Do not wire any money unless we verified it. We talk to the company. Do not, listen to anybody that calls you if it's not who we know we're working with, because they are probably going to get those emails. How do you identify those emails? So like I mentioned, you probably get emails like this from Chase, verification update, please sign into your account. That link is not to Chase. And if you look at the email address, you could tell it's not a Chase email. Chase on INE, like no, updates on Chase, look at the back, add whatever. It should be just chase.com. You see that? And to see the name, because normally you will get an email and it has just a name, you just put your cursor over the email and it'll tell you what the actual email address is. And there's many times, I do it all the time because I still do it for fun, for the kicks. I get emails from different places and I just put the cursor over and it's not that at all. It's something else. So be very careful with your emails because we get so many emails. I still have my real estate email. Oh my God, I should just delete everything in there. There's so many emails. So I don't have time because I don't really do real estate anymore, but I don't have time to sit there and delete everything. But if you guys took the time to look at all those like scam emails that you get and look at the email address, you'll see it's nothing related to what the email name says when you first look at it. Here's another example. Wells Fargo info ad, Wells Fargo on nowbank.com. That's not Wells Fargo email server, no. But again, most people don't take the time to see that. And most people panic when they say security update, update your password, or your bank has been breached, or something like that. Immediately they're like, oh my God, I have to go in. Go into your app. Do not click on these and delete them, get them off your computer as soon as possible. I'll give you another example. Like I mentioned, I work for a title underwriter. We don't do closings. We do the title searches, but I don't even get involved in that part. I get emails all the time with closing documents. Here's the closing documents for your upcoming closing. I don't have a closing. I don't work in that area. So why would I get, you see? So they're targeting everyone. It doesn't matter who it is. Does anybody have Mr. Cooper mortgage?
Me.
Mr. Cooper mortgage was hacked.
They changed my mortgage from the Mr. Cooper right now.
Well, they just got hacked big time. We couldn't even send money to them. And a bunch of people got wiring instructions saying send to Mr. Cooper, and it wasn't them. Their whole system got compromised.
That's happened a couple of months ago. So.
This happened 2 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, because I had to call my title agents, make sure that they didn't wire any money to them.
I gotta check them. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. If you had it already set up payments, the links were blocked. So either way, if you send money and you had it set up from before, you didn't have an issue. But new people, let's say they were doing a payoff.
I sent the letter from the other mortgage.
Okay.
They want to change for different amounts, so.
Okay.
And they don't let me pay
In the other company.
So I think,
But I will call, just verify. Yeah, just verify, just be safe. But yeah, a lot of companies too were getting payoffs for Mr. Cooper. And they couldn't send the money either because we didn't know which one was the right one and where was it going. So it's happening to everyone. So here's a couple other examples for you guys to pay attention about this. bphillips@anytitlecompany.com, that's the actual email address. And if you look at the second one, the Phillips, one of the L's is really a capital I. Do you see it? One is shorter than the other one.
Wow.
Then bphillips@anytitleco.com. It could be bphillips@anytitlecompany.gmail.com.
they use it exactly the same Lego and West Fargo and all the.
Yes.
They change only the name, wow.
Yeah. So you see how you can kind of identify. So when my first cybercrime case happened, this title agent had been doing this for many years. And I was kind of walking around and this was new to us, but I was still like mentioning it. Hey, have you heard of that? Have you had any incidents? Are you aware of what's going on? And she told me, don't worry about it. That would never happen to me. Fast forward to like 3 months after that conversation, she's like, Lorna, I just wired $107,000 to somebody, I don't know who. So the seller's son was the listing agent, right? And she did the closing, she got her wiring instructions from the seller, and she was preparing to send the wire out the day of closing. A couple hours later in the afternoon, the realtor, the seller's son, calls her and says, hey, we're still waiting for the wire. What happened? When are we going to get the funds? I already wired the money. We don't have it. So what happened was that his email was, let's say my real estate email, lorna.reyes@gmail.com. His email was lorna.reyes@yahoo.com. And she didn't pick up on it. They just created a Yahoo account, same information. She assumed it was the same. They had his signature, and they sent her wiring instructions from his email. So she assumed it was him, but it wasn't. And she wired the money to someone else. She went out of business.
Yeah, my daughter worked for Cisco company, and she always told me, Mary, be careful for all these things. I said, oh my God.
Yes. Yeah. So this is just ways, again, just be extra careful, pay extra attention, and warn your customers because they don't know. They hear it, we try to talk about it, it's in the news, but they don't really understand what it is. But I promise you, if you guys inform them and tell them, please don't be annoyed that you have to call from the bank, we're doing it for your safety. We want to make sure that you are doing things the right way. Another incident I'm aware of, I had a title company working with a lady who was going through Rocket Mortgage, one of those online places. All the information is usually on their website, on the portal. So wiring instructions, everything, like they have to log in and get the information from there. Well, the lady got an email. No one instructed her or told her, don't go by the emails, go by what's on the website. So she got an email with wiring instructions and she wired her money and she lost the money and she lost the property that she was gonna buy. You might think you're too small or for phishing or somebody to care about, but you're a prime target for them so they can attack elsewhere. Like I mentioned to you, you guys are realtors, you're working on transactions, even rentals too, they have their own way of scamming those. It could be anybody. And even if they're not, targeting you, again, if they have access to your email, they can find out what title company you work with, maybe they wanna hack in through there. And then you also have like the ransomware, which usually happens is they go through your email, then they blast everyone in your email, and if those people click, now they're attacked as well, they're watching theirs, and it keeps spreading out like that. So even if it's not you, they're looking for your database and whoever you have on your database to see who they can attack. So this is one of the many cases, and you guys can Google, there's more cases coming up of realtors that were found liable for wire fraud. And when they do the studies, even for title companies, their insurance won't cover them if they didn't do everything they had to do to protect that information or themselves from a cyber attack. So even then, the insurances are not even paying sometimes, because if they don't do it, take all the steps and do all the protections that they can do, then the insurance are like, well, you weren't even, taking care of it or worried about it. Why should I pay the claim? So yes. So this is a Kansas federal court case. The real estate licensee was 85% responsible for the buyer's loss. So the case went to trial, and the jury found that broker was 85% responsible for the loss, and the court entered judgment against the broker for $167,129. The broker filed for a post-trial motion seeking a determination in her favor. So as you could see, I mean, it's happening, and again, they're analyzing, okay, who's responsible, where was the breach, where was the mistake, and then they're holding whoever that is accountable for that. Here's another one. Title company sues Realty firm over wire fraud. Same thing. So implement and maintain reasonable security. You guys should have it on your laptops and your computers, and practices that protect you, your customers, and also knowing, okay, what do we have to do in the event that this happens? And you do have to notify everyone. I've been breached. Please secure your computers. Do not click on emails. You have to let other people know, because sometimes too what happens is people realize it happens to them, but they're embarrassed and they don't want to say anything. Well, now you're putting other people at risk. You do have to let people know, hey, something happened. I need you to protect yourself. In finding the real estate agent and broker liable, the court emphasized the following. The real estate agent was serving as the middleman between the settlement agent and the client. Serving in this role made her responsible for the delivery of accurate information to the client. The lesson is, have your client communicate directly with the title company. Each transmission of electronic message increases the risk that the transmission may be intercepted. So like I said, if you guys are sending them wiring instructions, now you're putting yourself responsible for that information. And if the buyer gets the wrong information, yeah. So I still encourage you to be there and support them and encourage them, call, and three-way call if you have to, because hopefully you have a good relationship with your title company. If that, you could take those steps to make sure that they're getting the right information, but I would not provide any wiring instructions or promise anything, and let them know, the customer, that it's not coming from you. You should be getting that information from the title person. The agent failed to notice several irregularities in both the email message and wiring instructions she received and forwarded to the client. So in this case, the realtor got the wiring instructions and they were bad, and they forwarded to the customer. So the lesson is, agent must look carefully at electronic communications. Many fraudulent emails can be identified based upon a basic visual inspection. Any irregularities should be cause of alarm. A lot of the emails too have misspellings. You could see sometimes from the emails, it's not a normal email. Something's off here. Remember what I told you? Whenever you feel like, those spidey senses kick in, double check, triple check, because there's something up. The agent did not act when she learned that her email account has been compromised. Remember what I mentioned? Sometimes people are embarrassed because they're like, how could I be so, irresponsible? How could this have happened to me? And they don't mention it, and that's also a bad thing. You have to let people know, hey, this happened. I need you to protect yourself. I need you to make sure that you report it, or we do what we need to do to get this resolved. Here's another incident. Couple sues real estate agent, title company, bank over wire fraud. Watch out. And the cases every single day are more and more and more. Think about that lender. That lender is huge. Imagine the amount of funds. Imagine the amount of payoffs, because people are selling their houses, paying off mortgages, and either buying another one. I mean, that's a lot of money. Home buyers lose life savings during wire fraud transactions, so Wells Fargo, Realtor, and title company. Yep, this is one of the many that I'm going to show you and recommend, because it's happening in many differences. Like I mentioned, most of the time it starts with the realtors. It starts with the phishing, or it starts with somebody getting hacked. So more than 97% of phishing emails analyzed now contain ransomware, and that's where they hack into the company's information, like I mentioned, the hospital. And that's become also a big problem. So imagine if you have your closing and they do a ransom attack into the title company. No closing's gonna happen. Your buyers are gonna miss out, their closing has to be postponed. All of that starts the same thing as emails, and then it gets spread out. So usually how it starts, like our company, for example, they kind of test us. They'll send emails like that, they're fake emails for us, like to bait us to click on links that could be harmful. Because they're sending it, obviously it's not. But they do test us to make sure that we're not doing it. Because if one of us, the employee, does it, then we just put the whole company at risk. So some companies go to that extent to train their employees not to click stuff on their emails. Especially like I mentioned to you guys, you have closing documents. No, I don't do closings. Had I clicked on that, I might have been attacked, ransom attack, because I clicked on something I knew better not to click on. So this is another one of the big situations. So it starts with a scam email. It goes into infect the computers, and it spreads out within the company. It attacks the server. It makes it vulnerable. And they do online ads also. They can access through there. Like whenever you guys see online ads, you should be careful as well, because you don't know what you're clicking. You don't know where that's taking you. You don't know what that link is doing. I also seen, someone mentioned the other day, you get package delivery.
Oh, that happened to me. I didn't go on it, but I got.
So what they told me that was happening, what that was doing was that people had to, when they did click it, it put like something in your phone where it can track you. So if they want to track you because you need to leave your house or they want to rob your house, I don't know exactly but that's what some of those text messages were. They were tracking devices for people.
And it makes you double think, like doubt yourself, because most of the time you're waiting for a package to be.
Right.
Oh my God, wait,
Yeah, and that's why I said if it's Amazon, go to the app.
Exactly.
If it's Publix, go to the app. Don't click on anything, because you never know where that email text message is coming from. Email is still the #1 delivery vehicle for malware. 92.4% of malware is delivered via email. So everything is coming through there. That's the easiest way right now that they've figured out. And when they figure out that we got, know that what they're doing, they'll probably figure something else out. But I think this is the biggest way that they're getting access and being able to do what they do. This is a little example of what happens. You see a little bug, phase 1, the attacker send a spam email. The bypasses victims' filters. That's another thing. They shut down your ransomware software, all your security softwares. They shut them down, so they don't inform you that your computer's in trouble. So they even go to that extent. And that's why it's important too that you guys maintain your ransomware and whatever security you have on your computer up to date. Because if it's an old one, it's probably even easier for them to hack. If it's a good one, hopefully it'll flag you, hey, something's up, even before they turn it off. So it goes from there, hits user's inbox, then other user clicks on it, malicious link, then it goes, they fail the antivirus, it moves into a file, and it keeps moving on, and eventually moves on to other people, because it's gonna spread out to other people that you have as well. And that's why you guys should mention to people, hey, I've been compromised, you guys need to change passwords or do what you need to do. And there's another display of what happens. So they figure out a person profile, they do the phishing, they get access to the computers or the emails, they monitor, they sit there and wait, they obtain the information, they impersonate either title company, you or somebody else, they manipulate and then transfer funds. Another example I can give you, there was a closing, the seller leaves a closing, and like 30 minutes later, the lender calls the title company, hey, the seller changed their mind, they want their money coming here to these wiring instructions. And the title agent was like, but he just left. How do they know? So she called the seller again. Hi, I just got a call from the lender saying that you wanted the money transferred somewhere else. Did you change your wiring instructions? I haven't talked to my lender. Yes. How do they know? I don't know. Hold on, give me a second. Yeah. I didn't do the 10 minutes. Hold on, sorry. All right, so like I mentioned to you guys, the cybersecurity department that handles this, they're the ones that are taking all the information, have the statistics. You can go on their website, on the FBI website, and get more information, and also where to go, what to do, the steps. Bless you. Bless you. Bless you. We also provide to the title agents, hey, this is the information that you need in case you are breached. So you have to let the authorities know, hey, we've been breached. When I started, the authorities, like if you call the local police, they were like, we have nothing to do with that. We don't work at the bank. Now they're kind of like, yes, we have to do a report. Now they kind of understand what's happening because it's happening so often. The same thing with the FBI. They're going to provide you with a code, and even if it's just an incident, they didn't become successful, I will still report the information because they can hopefully stop them from doing it to somebody else. This is thoughts from a managing broker. It is not a question if your email account will be hacked, but rather when it will be hacked. Once your email account is hacked, the hackers will monitor your conversation for weeks or months without you even knowing it, waiting for a transaction valuable enough to interfere. So like we said, stop using Gmail, Hotmail, and all those emails because they are easier to kind of get into. If you choose to continue using it, the best thing I can recommend is that you put the two-phase or two-factor authentication where you can either need your fingerprint, your face, a code. It could text you with your phone to make sure that you get a code back so that you can prevent someone from getting into your account. So same thing like social media. I see a lot of people Kiri just got hacked. Somebody took her social media account, started sending these messages about, send Bitcoin, or here's some Bitcoin, click here for Bitcoin. So usually, those cases you can try to prevent, better by having multiple security methods so that people can just access it if they break your account password. We also recommend that if your broker has a server, that you use the broker server. But if not, you can go to GoDaddy.com and create your own website and have your own personal email protected through their server. So let's do the 10 minutes. You guys can take a break, use the restroom, get some water, and we'll be back in 10 minutes.
Yo obtuve mi licencia de Real Estate hace 4 años. Lo hice como una segunda carrera y me uní a una compañía en cuanto terminé y tomé mi examen. Entonces, pues, la verdad, yo no tenía mucho entusiasmo porque no conocía el negocio, no sabía nada, hasta que por fin me uní a Partnership y aquí ya yo tengo una visión diferente de lo que es Real Estate. Me siento muy contenta de pertenecer a una compañía que tiene un nivel de apoyo muy superior a otras compañías que andan por ahí en el mercado y que se promocionan a lo mejor hasta más que Partnership. Aquí cuando necesitas ayuda, está ahí a pedir de mano, desde el broker Ismael hasta las muchachas de la oficina, las compañeras, en fin. Aquí es como una familia, una segunda familia donde tú nunca estás perdido, no importa qué sea, tú puedes confiar, todo el mundo está dispuesto a ayudarte. Yo me siento muy afortunada de pertenecer a esta familia, Partnership, y lo más bueno de todo es que yo estoy aprendiendo, que cada día hay algo nuevo, que te entrenan diariamente, en fin, es creciendo profesionalmente cada día a la vez que amas tu carrera. Gracias.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Fabiola Pereira, soy brasileña y tengo el gusto de trabajar para Partnership Realty con el broker Ismael Alvarez, que ha aprendido mucho con la compañía desde que estoy acá há más de 3 años. Soy muy grata a él, que me hizo el profesional que soy hoy. Y quiero decir para ustedes que nosotros estamos acá, se necesita encontrar rentas, se necesita vender tu casa, se necesita comprar tu casa, estamos no processo com ustedes até ao final, porque somos uma família. Isso que sempre hablo com meus clientes. A partir do momento que estamos juntos, se tornamos uma família. E temos acá também as processadoras que ajudam nós outros com o processo. E sou muito grata. E também quero dizer que estou também para a gente de meu país, os brasileiros. Com muito prazer, estou acá. Se precisa, pode me chamar, pode me ligar, que estarei com vocês o tempo todo, o que precisar, desde o princípio ao final. I'm very happy to be part of this team, Partnership Realty. I really recommend. Thank you. Bye. Muchas gracias.
Mi nombre es Yamilis Africano. Obtuve mi licencia de Real Estate en el año 2015 y comencé un año después a ejercerla. Primero vi algunas compañías hasta que una compañera me llamó y me dijo para visitar Partnership. Pues desde ese entonces, aproximadamente un año después de haber adquirido mi licencia, comencé a trabajar con Partnership Realty. Me siento muy satisfecha con Partnership Realty debido a que en ella pues he podido crecer como Realtor. Me gusta mucho la manera como su broker Ismael Alvarez dirige la compañía a través de una educación continua. Nos mantiene al día en todo esto y en la vanguardia inclusive de eventos sociales. A lo largo de estos años ejercí la carrera como un part-time, medio tiempo. Sin embargo, ya a partir desde el año pasado comencé en un 100% en lo que a esta carrera se refiere. Como dije en un principio, me siento muy satisfecha y eso es debido a que pues siento que he crecido profesionalmente todos estos años de curso, de conocimiento, de conocer el área donde me estoy desenvolviendo, que es West Palm Beach, Florida, pues me han llevado a crecer. Hoy en día tengo muchos clientes gracias a que han sido más que todo referidos, lo cual me da mucha satisfacción. La gente me pregunta que cómo he logrado adquirir estos clientes y pues yo pienso que básicamente ha sido por tres cosas que siempre trato de poner en práctica. Pues una es el conocimiento que a través de esta empresa, pues yo, como les dije, he adquirido. Es una empresa que te ofrece cursos, tiene una plataforma muy sólida. Contamos con un grupo, un team muy técnico que nos ayuda una vez que tengamos la oferta, pues nos ayudan a que eso vaya a una culminación feliz. Lo otro, aparte del conocimiento, pues yo pienso que es el amor y la dedicación que uno le dedique al trabajo, pues tratar de que eso tú se lo reflejas a tu cliente, llevar esa confianza. Y un tercer aspecto muy importante para mí, pues es la honestidad con la que tú haces el trabajo. Así que básicamente conocimiento, amor, pasión y honestidad, pues es lo que me ha ayudado a mí a crecer profesionalmente y a que vaya exitosamente en mi carrera. Como les dije, mi nombre es Yamilis Africano, me pueden contactar a través de mis redes sociales, Facebook, Instagram y Twitter, o contactarme aquí mismo en la oficina de Partnership.
Hola, buenos días. Mi nombre es Consuelo Perdomo, soy agente de bienes raíces de la Florida. Quiero contarles mi testimonio aquí con Partnership Realty, una gran compañía, una gran empresa de brokers. Estoy en Partnership Realty desde el 2016. Desde que tomé mi licencia, fue muchas las
Well, welcome back.
compañías.
Thank you for coming back. So I know this is a lot of information, but hopefully you have a little warning. JJ was providing some of the stories that he's had, which again, he informed his customer, there was a little bit older couple, do not speak to anyone without verifying with me, do not send any money, or do not make any steps until you verify with me. And he was able to help his customers stay out of trouble because every time they got an email from something or someone, they verified with him to make sure that they were doing things the right way. So again, and this is outside of this class, so you guys have heard of NAR, the lawsuit, what's happening now with Realtors Commission, and I think that's what it's going to come down to. Some people think that Realtors do not bring value because, you know, everyone works differently, but by doing things like what JJ did, that's what gives a Realtor value, because the average person doesn't understand what happens in a real estate transaction. That's where you guys come in. Our role is to help them navigate through the real estate transaction. I always say, you know, don't be a lender, let the lender do their part. Don't be a title company, let them do their part. But you still need to be knowledgeable about what happens in a transaction because you still have to guide your customer. When I started real estate, again, I had no idea what I was doing. I did work for a title company because I wanted to understand their side. And most people assume that title companies print out documents and notarize documents and that's it. They do more than that. Their job is very intricate. They have to go through stuff that you guys have no idea they have to go through. When we send them a title search, there are a lot of requirements that they have to do before closing and before we can insure that property. And they never mention those things to you. They just handle it for you. So again, it's good that you guys understand all that sides, just like when you guys go in an inspection. If you've been doing this for a while, you can walk into a property and say, okay, that's not gonna happen, this is not gonna happen, this is a problem, because you've done it already for so long that you know what the bank is gonna expect or what is required. So that's what I mean. You're not gonna be a lender, you're not gonna be an appraiser, you're not gonna be an inspector, but you are knowledgeable enough that you can help your customer maneuver through all those things that they're gonna go through in a real estate transaction. So let's continue. The FBI recommends these safeguards to protect yourself from phishing. I will provide the presentation to Corelli's, so make sure you have your emails in that list because Corelli will be sending this out so you guys can have it as well. There's going to be some resources at the end of the presentation too that you guys can keep. Be suspicious of any unsolicited emails requesting personal information or forms that ask for personal information. Remember what I said, even for you guys, if you get something from your bank, your account has been compromised. Do not click on the emails. Call the bank. Go through their app. Find another way. Go directly to the source. Do not go based on those emails or calls. Always compare the link in the email to the link that you actually are directed to. Remember how we looked at the emails to make sure you see the discrepancy in the emails? Sometimes you can see it, sometimes you can't. But just make sure that you double check. Type the actual web address into search bar instead of using a link. That's another way that you can protect yourself. You go to the website yourself, just type it in versus clicking somewhere that you don't know where that's going to send you. When responding to an email, forward and type the address. Because let's say they emailed you and you think you're emailing Corelli's, but it's not Corelli's email you're replying to. But if you forward to the Corelli's email address that you have, more than likely, if she didn't send you that email, Corelli's going to call you, hey, that didn't come from me. So don't always reply. Forward the email to the person that you think is emailing you. Because if it wasn't that person, she's going to call you and tell you, hey, that didn't come from me. When contact the actual business that supposedly sent the email, use work email for work purposes only and use personal emails for personal stuff. Keep them separate, okay? Don't commingle your emails and your business separate. Remember, you're all little companies, and I know even asking you to create your own Google GoDaddy account, it's an expense, but you're all independent contractors. You're all little businesses, and that's part of doing business. And protecting yourself and protecting the public is part of your business. So that's something that you should consider when you guys are doing your business as real estate professionals, because you want to take the steps necessary so that you don't get in trouble later on. You want to scrutinize any email. I'm just going to keep saying this because, like I said, this is the #1 way that they get into stuff. If the email's unverified, you don't know where it's coming from, and even sometimes, even if it's coming from the person, I will still call and say, hey, did you just send me an email? And even communicating with your customers, the title company sending you an email now, or if you hear something, just like JJ said, call me. If somebody sends you an email, call me, let me know. Don't click on links or open any email attachments that come from unverified sources. Beware of emails or calls, like we mentioned several times, that request account verification. Change your passwords periodically. Avoid using the same email and password combinations on multiple websites. Change them up all the time. Update your antivirus regularly to prevent malware attacks. Confirm all requests for financial transactions offline. Make a phone call and get a verbal confirmation before you make any wire transfers. And remember, don't accept calls coming in. Make sure you're the one that is calling out. Because I just had someone, they did that, and they did not verify. Somebody called them, oh, we're just going to confirm the wire instruction. She verified the wire instructions, but that wasn't the right company. And they send the money somewhere else. Take your personal financial information with you for a face-to-face meeting and get signed wire transfer instructions before you proceed. And that's especially what title companies do. When they do their closing, they get the funds right there in front of the person. And that's really the best way. And I'll tell you a funny story. When I worked at a title company for a little while, I did the processing part, and we had scheduled closing. The lady had moved to New York. She used to have like a over 55 condo here in Broward, and she moved to New York. So I had to schedule a notary to go to her new home now in New York. It was a senior community, so that they can do the closing. So the notary goes out, she handles the closing, she gets wiring instructions from the lady in person. So when we preparing everything, the lady's son was also coordinating stuff with the title company. And the son mentioned to the title agent, what account did my mom give you? So the title agent told him, well, she provided this Bank of America account. Well, that's wrong, it's a Wells Fargo account. So we're like, again, the lady's in New York. So the title agent asked me to call, and since I had coordinated with the lady for the closing for the notary, I had to call the lady and let her know, is this correct? Is this what you want? Because your son now selling us something different. I couldn't get a hold of the lady. I didn't sleep that whole night because I'm like, oh my God, he killed her. She's in the Hudson River. He's taking all the money. I was so stressed out. And I couldn't get through the lady. So I knew the community because I scheduled the notary. And I called the community and I'm like, I need to speak to so-and-so. I think she's one of your individuals living there. And they're not allowed to give out that information. So the lady goes, I'm so sorry, I can't help you. I can't confirm if that person lives here. And so I told her, well, if she happens to live there, I need you to please tell her that she needs to call me now. And sure enough, the lady did call me, and it was right. She's like, my son handles all that. I didn't know where to send it, but yes, go ahead and send it. But I didn't sleep all night thinking something happened to the lady because I couldn't get a hold of her. But that's how important that is. Like, we have to verify, make sure you go to the source and not take the information from someone else. In this case, we had to verify it with her, and it was okay, and she was aware, she was coherence, like she understood what we were saying, and she was okay with us transferring the money to where her son had asked us to send it. But again, that's why it's so important that you guys stay in touch with your customers and educate them. Let them know, talk to me before you do anything, before you go out there. Make sure you're talking to the right person. Make sure you have the right information, or you're getting it from the right from the right source. So there's 6 steps to cyber safety. Protect from phishing. We already talked about securing your email, doing what you need to do to make sure that no one's spying on you. Verify everything. You're gonna be like little private eyes now. Just make sure you scrutinize everything, every email, every call, every person. Make sure you guys know who you're talking to. Update your systems, keep them up to date. That's huge. Because the easier you make, the older it is, obviously, the easier you make it for them. They just keep coming with times. Their job is to continue to figure out, how do I break through this? How do I get this money? Use VPN, and what that is, it's a great resource to have, especially if you're using public, what they say, free Wi-Fi. That's the worst thing that you guys can do. You should have either your own or use your hotspot from your phone to avoid somebody hacking into your system. Bless you, bless you, bless you. So that's another thing. Free Wi-Fi, Starbucks. There's people sitting outside of Starbucks right now trying to hack into somebody's computer in Starbucks. Wow. Yeah. So use the 2FA or MFA to make sure you secure your emails. Make sure you have multiple ways of getting access to your information, to your email accounts, to your systems. Change your passwords, like we say. Try not to use the same passwords all the time, because those are the best ways that you can protect yourself. And what are the 2FA or 2MFA, which is the authentication? Like, for example, when you're logging into a website, sometimes they say, can we send a code, and it has the last 4 digits of your cell phone, email or cell phone. So that's one of the ways that you can add that feature into your email account or your systems, so that they have to text, obviously, your phone so that you can get access to that system. So that's one of the many features that you can add to secure your email. You can use your fingerprint, you can use a phone or ID badge, password or PIN, it depends what you have to do. We have to have like triple security on our phones because of that, because we, even if it's my personal phone, if I have company information in it, we have to make sure that we have multiple security on it to protect information. The VPN, how does it work? The VPN is like a tunnel, so it bypasses whoever, like that little hacker I mentioned that's in the parking lot waiting to get into your email. So it kind of creates a tunnel that takes your computer directly to the internet without anyone knowing that you're out there. Usually it's just like, like when you, what's that with iPhone that you drop?
Oh, the Dropbox? Copy paste?
No.
Dropbox?
It's not Dropbox. Oh my God. Instead of texting, you can drop to people, airdrop. So it's kind of like that. When you airdrop, like I can do my airdrop and I can see everyone who has theirs on open. That's kind of what they see. So if you go through the VPN, then they don't see that you're out there. So you bypass the whole thing and avoid that. And again, that's if you choose to use public Wi-Fi. That's the best thing that you can do to protect yourself. So yes, I can't say this enough. So think before you connect. Remember what I said, always be careful. You never know who's sitting out there. I always picture somebody out there. And even when they told me that you can access through your car Bluetooth, they can even do that parked right next to you. There's so many things that they can do if they're very sophisticated. If they really wanted to, yes. If they really want to, yes. Use your mobile phone network, like I mentioned, if you're in a public place. I bought like a prepaid Wi-Fi box. So it's like $60 a month or 30 days. If I'm traveling or something and I need it, I pay it. If I'm not using it, I don't pay for it. AT&T, they have the best coverage because I go sometimes to really remote places. So you can try something like that or use your phone, whatever works best for you. But always have a backup and try to use your own stuff to protect yourself and protect your customers. Avoid conducting sensitive activities through public networks. Again, you have to be careful who's out there because they might be looking at your stuff. I always recommend too that you have something protecting your computer if you're using a computer, because people can see the screen sometimes. So there's like a protected thing that, if they're sitting next to you, they still can't see it. Keep your software up to date, like we said. Don't make it easier for them. More time goes by, the better they get, the more sophisticated, and they can get access to stuff. And use strong passwords. I heard somebody the other day that they were starting to do phrases. They didn't do actual passwords. They did like, I love my dog. I don't know. I'm just making something up. But they're getting like more elaborate with their passwords and using like the signs, the special symbols to create passwords now to try to make it even harder for them. I was notorious. I used to use the same password for everything. So we all have to kind of put our part. Again, you have this presentation. You can access this Google phishing quiz if you like to see how well you will do if, God forbid, you are attacked by phishing emails. So this is something that you guys can do later on as homework to see, if you can identify the different ways that people are trying to attack you guys. And it all does is like the email addresses and things like that, what should you do. So it'll give examples like this. Phishing, is it legit or is it phishing? Is it a true email? How do you know that it's okay? So these are just some of the actual phishing emails examples that you're going to get. You see that? And then they have PDF files. They have all kinds of stuff that if you click, obviously will either take you somewhere, or they're putting something in your computer, or they're getting access to your system. So you have to be very careful. We highly recommend that you put something in your email signature, something like this. Never trust wiring instructions sent via email. Cyber criminals are hacking email accounts and sending emails with fake wiring instructions. These emails are convincing and sophisticated. Always independently confirm wiring instructions in person or via telephone call to a trusted and verified phone number. Never wire money without double checking that the wiring instructions are correct. So remember what I said at the beginning. You need to do whatever you need to do to make sure that you have done all the steps that you can to protect it. Make sure you secure your email. Make sure you put this in your email. Make sure you talk to your customers and you explain to them. Don't assume that they know. And I always tell realtors, this is what happens a lot of the times. We forget that the customers, they don't even have a clue half the things that you already do or what you already know. We assume that they do, but they really don't. Especially in this case, a lot of people hear it, but they don't really know what it is. So by you informing them and doing all the steps required that will keep you guys safe, I think if we continue to move forward with this and educating everyone, we'll be in a better place, because the numbers keep going up, and to me that just means that people are not educated on it. That's why it's happening. So what if it happens to you? I already gave you the location for the FBI. Try going in there, they won't let me in. I was trying to be nosy. Hopefully you have backed up your data. Remember what I said, if they do ransomware and they hack into your system, hopefully if you have your system backed up, you can access that information again. Otherwise, it's gonna be a problem. You notify the law enforcement, and seriously, you have to call your local law enforcement, let them know we've had an incident. There are software options that might be able to restore your systems if you do have them. If you have IT people that can help you, sometimes they can take care of it. Remove your computer from any network, like what happened to you. Sometimes you might have to do that, get off the internet, get off everything, just shut everything down, and try to take a screenshot of the ransom demand. Sometimes they'll have, what happens is it's a black screen, and it'll have like the words like, your computer has been compromised, we want blah, 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 demand, whatever they want. And Microsoft.
Yeah, that's why I called. I called to the number, and then they started telling me to go on the phone it was really
super weird, yeah. And you can restart the computer on safe mode if you need to. Again, what you want to do is try to control the situation and also inform people, hey, I've been compromised, please, please, please. Curly, I was putting you out there about your Facebook account recently.
Oh, yes. I recently just got hacked, so.
Yeah. Yeah. While suggestions like two-factor authentication and encrypted emails may have their place, it's refreshing that a practical, non-technical word of advice comes from all places and alerts put out by Silicon Valley Associates of Realtors to wit. Buyers and sellers should confirm all email wiring instructions directly with the escrow officer by calling the escrow officer on the telephone. And that's what I mean. Make sure that the customer's aware, who they're working with in their files. Sometimes the girls do call I can't even think right now, hold on. Introduce themselves to the customers, or they do send out the emails of like, we need information from you. Back in my day, I used to send out the package of information from the seller or the buyer that they need to close. You can do that as the introduction for your customer. Hey, I'm gonna send you an email. I'm gonna CC the title company on this, and this is a person that you will be talking to. And that way they know and they can pay attention to that. And also just stay in the loop on the email sometimes just to verify, did you send this email correctly? Did you get this email, Mr. Buyer or Seller? You're part of the transaction. Your job is to get this transaction to close. And I think that this is one of the many steps that we can all kind of get the transaction to move forward. Because if you have that incident where they wire the money to the wrong place, you're not getting paid, now you're getting sued. And you have all these new problems now that you could have avoided if we got this, resolved at the beginning. Contact your bank to initiate a swift recall, which is what they do to get the money back. That's what they call it. Banks also have their own departments dealing just with this incident, and they're not even allowed to say who those people are in those departments. That's how secure they're doing this too, because they can also be compromised. And so they don't even disclose who those people are. File a complaint with the FBI, the IC3 department, Internet Crime Complaint Center. Contact your local FBI field office and provide the IC3 complaint number. They're going to give you a number, case number. Contact all banks that may have also received your funds, and contact local authorities and file a police report. Okay? Loss of data, either company finance data, customer and/or project information, compromised employee information, and payroll system. These are some of the things that people lose. It might not be money sometimes, but let's say they do take access. Like I mentioned, the hospital, they got compromised, their system was hacked. They can lose time, they can lose information, they can lose employee information, put themselves in a situation where other people are gonna sue them because they have compromise their personal information, fees to back up the system, fees to protect the system now, to back of the system, IT department, the reputation damage, like Mr. Cooper now, I'm sure that they're gonna have to deal with what happened with their reputation, because as a lender, they were unable to keep themselves protected and the information of all these consumers. So these are not only financially, like in your case, you know, obviously they're coming after real estate money. In some cases, especially with a ransomware, it's other kind of losses that they're going to have, and they can be in the billions and the millions depending the size of the company. And it could definitely put a company out of business, because if you can't do the activities every day, if you don't have access to your customers, you don't have access to your invoicing, you don't have access to your payroll, that's a huge problem. So think about it like that. It's not just about the money, it's also what can impact the other company, you know, because it affects everyone. The ramifications of attack extend far beyond the initial event. For smaller real estate companies, a well-executed cyber attack can run the risk of putting them out of business. I mentioned to you about that title company. She went out of business, $107,000. And at that time is when they really started coming down who was responsible, and she was responsible. I think she would have been okay. She might have, her insurance maybe could have covered the loss, but I also think she took a toll professionally and emotionally, because it was such, she told me herself that would never happen to me. And in a couple of months it did happen to her. And I think she took it so serious that she was like, I'm done, I don't want to do this anymore. So it could be not just financially, it could be a toll in different ways. And for that lady, I think it was like that. It was emotional and it was professional, because she felt like she failed. She didn't do what she needed to do, and she made a really, really, you know, simple mistake. In fact, 60% of small businesses that suffer a cyber attack are out of business within 6 months. Yeah. One of the most impactful ways real estate companies can combat cybercrime is employee education, which again, I'm so glad that you guys are here and taking the time for this. I know some of you guys are new, but you understand now how important this is. So use better passwords, recognize a phishing attack, know what to do if the suspect fraudulent email or link, put a process in place to verify requests for sensitive information or wire transfers. Remember what I said, title companies pay buku money for the secure emails, protecting information. Let them do their part. Unless you guys want to do that and spend that money, let them do their part. Let them use all that money that they've already spent on these systems to make sure that they protect the public. Your job is just to educate your customer and help them through the transaction. Make sure that they're doing it to the right place. These are additional articles if you guys want to keep reading, but I'm sure you can Google cases that are happening right now, all the different cases that are happening when people are having wire fraud issues. And like I told you, I had one last month. I was talking to somebody, helping them through the process of what happened. They weren't even a customer of mine, but I worked with them in the past, and they called me. I just had an incident. I wired money. I verified the funds. They called me. And I didn't want to say anything, but you know you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to call. But they called her and they verified the wiring instructions that she had received by email, and she wired money out. So report wire fraud to Federal Trade Commission, to cybercrimes, to FBI, United States Secret Service, phishing quiz. These are all the different links for the different departments that you guys can use. It's always good to have, and even if you want to share it with other people, because you never know when someone might need this information. And do you guys have any questions for me? Any additional? Yes?
Question. As about using e-sign document, let's say if you have a contract, you use e-sign document from you as a realtor to your buyer
seller. You're getting the email directly from the customer. I believe that should be okay. I think those are still okay, because I haven't heard that that really affects, as long as you have the right email address. And they don't send e-sign documents. Their concern is more about getting money, which they're going to focus on the wire instructions. Yeah. And usually, I mean, so when you start your transaction, you're emailing your customers, so they already have your email because you're sending them listings, right? And even when you sign a contract, let's say you got a listing, you let them know you finish your contract and you're sending it electronically, because we don't do signature contracts anymore, right? Most of it's done like that. So they already have your email, so that should be okay. I think the steps is that, making sure you are not clicking on emails that you're getting, because remember, they already know who you are. I mean, you can't be a secret agent as a realtor. People have to know you're a realtor, right? So everyone knows you're a realtor. They're going to try to hack into your email account. That's how they're going to get information. And they're going to try to fool the next person, either the buyer, the seller, the title company, whoever else it is. So I think that's why we keep saying about the communication. Make sure you communicate and that you're communicating with the right person. Calling and just checking, verifying. I mean, I still love your story. I'm going to use that. Where he warned his customers, and they were so good about getting back with him. Hey, we just heard back from this. Again, if you're part of the transaction, you're communicating with your closers, you're communicating with your lenders, and you know that, okay, you weren't supposed to get an email, or you were supposed to get an email, or you were supposed to get a call. So now you're verifying that information because you're walking your customers right through it. And that's really all it is. Just communicating, educating the consumer, because again, they're not aware of what exactly this is and what's happening. But if you tell somebody, if you don't listen to me, you're gonna lose your money, trust me, they're gonna listen to you. And they're gonna do what you tell them, because no one wants to lose a substantial amount of money. Even if it was $50,000, let's just say, that's still a lot of money. The average transaction is $400,000. So it could be like the person's life saving. It could be, you know, the one case, a lady with a robo lender company, it was an older lady. She lost like $60,000, $70,000. Maybe that's not a lot. It was a lot to her. And that she didn't get a property either. So that's what we want to avoid. Any other questions? Did I scare you to death? I hope I did. Good.
Yeah, because it's happened. So.
Yeah, but it's
happened a few times.
Yeah. And usually what happens, this is happening, all these topics happen, and the last ones to hear about it is you guys. So I love that you guys are here taking this bull by the horn and kind of like, you know, you're just a better realtor. The more you can help your customers, the more knowledgeable you are, it just makes you a better realtor. You know, whenever people think of you, they'll think about, you know, they pointed out things that no one else pointed out, or they walked me through certain things that I didn't even think about, because you know, you do this for a living. So all you're doing now is making yourself more valuable by helping them and even helping your title partners over there to do the transaction and protect the customer, because we kind of all have to work together doing it, because it affects all of us. It affects me, affects them, affects you guys. So we definitely have to work together to get this, you know, hopefully brought down, those numbers keep going up. But if I don't have any other questions, I really thank you guys for being here today and not leaving me alone. You're welcome. Remember, we're here. You can talk to Kiri if you guys have any other specific topics that you guys want to see. We're here to help you guys out. The goal is obviously, like I said, help you be more successful. And hopefully we did that today. So thank you for having me here today.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.